Crying. It's one of the most human things we do, right? A universal response that you can find in any culture on Earth. But have you ever really stopped to think about it? Why? Why do strong emotions, whether it's sadness or joy or even frustration, why do they create actual physical tears? Well, today we're going to dive into the science behind it all. Just think about that for a second. You know that feeling, the release, like a weight has just been lifted? That weird sense of calm after the storm passes? It's a feeling I think most of us know pretty well. And here's the wild part, right? That feeling of relief, it often happens even when the thing that made you cry hasn't changed one bit. The problem is still there. The loss is still real. So, what is going on inside of us? Well, that feeling is totally real. It is not just in your head. It's a super complex process involving biology, chemistry, and even our social lives. So let's follow the science and figure out what's really happening during this deeply personal experience. Okay, so to understand where emotional tears even come from, we first have to get one thing straight. Not all tears are created equal. It all starts deep inside the brain, for sure, but the type of tear really matters. So check this out. Your body produces 3 completely different kinds of tears. First, you've got your basal tears. That's just the constant film that keeps your eyes protected and moist. Then you have reflex tears, the ones that pour out when you get dust in your eye or you're chopping onions. But the ones we're really interested in today, the real mystery, are the third type, emotional tears. So here's how it all goes down. When you feel something really intense, and it can be anything from deep sadness to overwhelming joy, it hits your brain's limbic system, which is basically its emotion center. That system then shoots a signal to the hypothalamus, kind of like mission control, and it tells your tear glands, all right, open the floodgates. It's a direct physical reaction to what you're feeling inside. So you might be wondering, if the trigger is different, are the tears themselves actually different? And the answer is a huge yes. Emotional tears aren't just salty water. They're more like a unique chemical cocktail. Yeah, there's a major chemical difference. While reflex tears are almost all water, designed simply to flush out junk from your eye, emotional tears are way more complex. Studies have shown they have a higher concentration of proteins and might even contain things like endorphins, your body's natural pain relievers, and stress hormones. And that right there is a huge piece of the puzzle. And the science gets even more specific, which is pretty amazing. One study actually analyzed the chemical fingerprint of tears and found that even different kinds of emotional tears are unique. Tears from sadness were connected to body processes that handle stress, but tears of joy, they were linked to completely different pathways, like the ones involved in metabolizing caffeine. Our emotions literally change the recipe of our tears. Okay. So this leads to a really popular idea you've probably heard, that crying is a way to detox and get rid of stress hormones. It's a nice thought, but there's a scientific catch. You know how you get a runny nose when you cry? Well, that happens because most of our tears don't actually fall from our eyes. They drain back into our nasal passages. This simple fact makes it tough to argue that we're ejecting a ton of stress hormones. So the reason we feel better must be a bit more complicated. So if it's not just about a chemical release, then why do we cry in a way that's so visible to everybody else? Well, this brings us to the powerful social and evolutionary reason for tears.
I mean, let this sink in for a second. Out of all the species on planet Earth, we are the only ones known to cry emotional tears. That alone is a huge clue. It tells us that our tears must serve a purpose that's deeply connected to what makes us human, our incredibly complex social lives.
And this really gets to the heart of it. Tears basically evolved as a powerful nonverbal signal. They communicate vulnerability in a way that words just can't sometimes. They're a biological way of saying, I need help, or please connect with me. And, crucially, they are incredibly good at making others feel empathy and want to help, which strengthens our social bonds. Crying is a language all its own. So let's circle all the way back to that feeling of relief we started with. If it isn't just about releasing chemicals, what's the actual physical mechanism that helps calm us down? Well, in lab studies where scientists measure what's happening in the body, they find a really consistent pattern. Your heart rate might spike when you start crying, but your breathing actually slows down. As you can see here, the breathing rate after crying is typically lower than where it started. That slowing of the breath is a key physical sign that your body is starting to soothe itself. And here's the crucial point. Crying is a mechanism that helps our body get back to homeostasis, which is just a fancy word for its natural state of balance. The physical act of sobbing and the slower breathing actively help your nervous system shift from being on high alert back towards a state of calm. You know, this completely reframes the whole act of crying. It's not a sign that you're out of control or weak. It's actually the opposite. It is a powerful, built-in tool your body uses for self-soothing and emotional regulation. It's a healthy, functional process. So the next time you feel tears coming, just remember this. Your body isn't breaking down. It's not failing. It's actively working to heal, to regulate, and to bring itself back into balance. Ultimately, crying is a form of communication, not just to other people, but to ourselves. It's a signal that an emotion has become too intense to just ignore. So maybe the next time you cry, the question isn't only, why am I crying? But if this is a language, what are my tears trying to tell me?